Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to do a ramble video based on one little snippet of a video by someone else. I'm probably going to talk about the subject at length, but I just want to preface it by a little bit of a story. I saw another video by Cuckadoodle-Doo slash Shoe Mix slash Social Justice Punk is what he's calling himself now, and I like that name, and it's what he's using to call himself. So I'm gonna use that. His name is Social Justice Punk now. I saw this video by him, and I shared it with my favorite lowercase L libertarian, that being Eagle Eye 1975, as just something to troll him because I knew that he'd have a really intense reaction. So, Eagle Eye 1975, he gets off work and he's driving on his way home listening to it, and he had to pull over twice to text me about it, like, holy shit! And, oh my god, he doesn't even know the Frankfurt School! Ah! So, yeah, I'm a troll. I knew what would happen. And I'm going to link Social Justice Punk's video in the description box. It's Cultural Marxism is a Myth. Please subscribe to him because after two videos, I'm waiting for everything that comes out from this guy because we're going to have so much fun. Um, Given that I know that Eagle Eye 1975 is probably going to want to address the whole video, I'm just going to address one little snippet that I know, like, I knew immediately when I heard it, fucking wrong because of my own education. So I'm going to play this clip. It's 3 minutes 44 seconds in, and it starts with him playing a clip of Faith Goldie from On the Hunt, and then he responds to something that she says.
See, today we don't call socialism anymore. We call it social justice and progressivism. Now, that's to say that every social justice warrior is keen on communism. Most of them are just the useful idiots Vladimir Lenin talked about. Nonetheless, they're...
Oh, by the way, Vladimir Lenin didn't talk about that. He didn't call anyone a useful idiot ever. That was made up by red-baiting right-wingers.
Okay. So, the claim here is that Vladimir Lenin never used the term useful idiot and that it was made up by red-baiting right-wingers. Now, the first part of that is wrong is that it was made up by red-baiting right-wingers, presumably the ones that we would hear on AM talk shows here in America. No. It is completely possible that he never used that exact term. It was a term that was used in Russia by Russians talking about the kinds of policies and tactics of their leaders, and we can say that for sure Stalin did use the term. Okay? That is a fact, demonstrable. And it has been used in Russian writing in the 40s and 50s, demonstrable. Okay, we know this, and that those aren't red-baiting right-wingers here in America that are just trying to tear down communism. No, this was people on that side of the pond. Okay, but it is possible that Lenin himself never used that term because the earliest times that we find it in written works, there was like one novel in the 1800s. But it never shows up in Lenin's work as useful idiot. He died in 1924. Then it starts being used in 1940s and 50s and attributed to him. So there is a possibility that after, like, a decade and a half, people just latched onto this mythos of things that Lenin said and did, and then attributed things to him like a decade and a half after that because it's not in his written works. But what is in his written works he did treat people like that. Okay, that's not like just to say that he didn't use that exact phrase doesn't mean that he didn't treat people like that. He called people in his parliament the swamp. You know, the people in his parliament that he could make do his bidding and they wouldn't know what they were actually doing. He also used the term fellow traveler. And that's a translation. But those are in his written works. You know, then Stalin definitely used it. So yeah, it gets used in the 40s and 50s by Russians, and then heavily in the 50s by our own Congress, yes, by people who were during the Red Scare, right? The McCarthyists, yes, it was used by those kind of red baiters, but then it kind of died out in popularity as far as how we're hearing it today by people like Mrs. Goldie that he's playing a clip from. What happened to bring about a resurgence in this term and idea? It was a neuropsychologist named Vladimir Bukovsky. And Bukovsky, he was basically a human rights activist. And he was not a red baiter. He was not right-wing at all. He was in the USSR, and he was put in psychiatric hospitals because he was a political dissident. Okay? It wasn't because he had any mental problems at all. They were just trying to shut him up and keep him basically in jail as a mental patient. And that was a way that they were circumventing their own laws. Just, you know, I declare you crazy. You go to that institution. Even though what he was actually doing was speech against the KGB, against the USSR. He said that the Soviet Union was an illegal state. But all of these things that he said were actually from the point of view of someone from the far left. Okay? Very much a human rights activist. And Bukovsky does not fit the mold of what social justice punk is saying. And after he said that, people started picking up that term again here in the States, and then it got picked up by the likes of Rush Limbaugh on AM radio, and then it went to Laura Ingraham. And these are the red baiters that social justice punk is saying, are the ones that invented this term in order to paint Lenin in a bad way. No, even if you can't attribute it directly to Lenin, you can say that, like, a decade and a half later, his own fucking people thought of him that way and attributed that quote to him. And he said similar things, like the fellow traveler kind of slang. I know that's a very loose translation to English, but in Russian it basically means, you know, hi, let me take you and show you this thing that I want you to do, and, you know, I have this plot in the back of my head of what's actually going on, but hey, buddy, how you doing? We're both in this together, you know. It's... Wow. No, it wasn't an invention that the Republicans or the conservatives said that Lenin was like that, or that he treated people in other countries like that. When Bukovsky escaped the USSR, as you know, when he was traded for another political prisoner, he left there with a whole bunch of knowledge that people mined, and he was the source of all of that. Go ahead and look it up yourselves. There is a lot out there on that, because there are people who have been questioning whether or not Lenin actually said it for a long time. But Go ahead and read Lenin's works, and you'll see that he did definitely think of people that way. And he was a manipulative prick, and he did write about who was most easily manipulated. And watch the rest of Social Justice Punk's video because, yeah, we're going to have fun.